Well. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages here to SKAP Live here on YouTube. It's been a while. It's been about a month now, a solid month since I've crawled on here and got live with all of you guys. But the NFL is back. Therefore, I am back on a live stream. I know you guys typically think of me as a basketball kind of enthusiast, analyst, whatever you want to call it. But I actually do love me some NFL football. And, I've been kind of discussing some football here in the off season. And I'm just going to get into more NFL coverage throughout the season. I'll probably be doing some live streams throughout, just kind of general recaps, analyses, shit talk, general things that you guys have come to know and love of me as it pertains to my NBA coverage and basketball coverage. I'll be doing that for the NFL because, damn it, I love the NFL. I like to talk shit about the NFL just like basketball. And I might arguably follow the NFL more closely than the NBA because I am big into the fantasy football scene as well. So if you guys want to talk fantasy or anything like that, please, you could use this forum as a sounding board for any fantasy football shit talk you might want to get into, or just fantasy football, maybe crying, ranting. Just get something off of your chest if you feel that's something that you need to do, guys. But I think for purposes of this live stream, I would, and this weekend that was in the NFL, of course, we still do have a Monday night game tonight, Bears and Vikings, which should be an interesting little game, obviously, because the Vikings won 14 games last year and decided to change quarterbacks. Of course, Sam Darnold in Seattle now, and the Vikings going with the second year, J.J. McCarthy, coming off of a pretty substantial knee injury. So, it should be an interesting game tonight. See Caleb Williams in year two. But we have seen everything that the NFL had to offer us other than that one final game tonight on Monday night. And there are, I think, some significant takeaways here from the first weekend that was in the NFL. I would be remiss to not start with the game of the weekend, the game of the night for sure, the game of the day. The Baltimore Ravens and the Buffalo Bills in a rematch of that 27-25 playoff game thriller, obviously, which resulted in the Bills beating the Ravens yet again. The Ravens, yet another playoff collapse, choke job last year. Seems to be a running theme for Lamar Jackson throughout his entire NFL career. And last night, while last night might not be a big game, because it was just game one of the regular season, it does remind us, though, that the Ravens can't win big games. They don't. They never have. And it seems as if they never will. The Bills shocking the Ravens 41-40. By the way, that's a scoregami. It's the first ever 41-40 final in the 106-year history of the National Football League. So there's a little spicy stat tidbit for you. But the Bills trailed in this game. If you guys went to bed early, hopefully you didn't. The Bills trailed in this game by 15 points late with less than 5 minutes to play. Actually, they scored 16 unanswered in the final 3 minutes and 50 seconds of the game. The Ravens were absolutely dominating. They looked basically unguardable. Really nothing you can do with the pairing of Lamar Jackson and Lamar Jackson and King Henry in the backfield, and that stout offensive line. Basically, wide receivers running wide open all over the field because there really is no way to defend it. But lo and behold, they choke yet again. They claw the loss out of the jaws of victory as seemingly only they can do. The Bills come storming back on the back of a heroic game by reigning league MVP Josh Allen. Again, 16 points in the final 350. You don't see this kind of stuff in the NFL most of the time. Typically, you just don't see it. Otherwise, Derrick Henry was magnificent. He seems ageless. He had 169 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns before a late costly fumble, which helped the Bills get back in the game. Lamar Jackson, 280 total yards and 3 touchdowns. And, many people will probably come on here and say, Scap, how can you blame Lamar Jackson for this game? It's just Scap being typical hater. Scap blaming Lamar Jackson even when he plays well. But he loses. He always loses these big games. Yes, he was statistically magnificent last season. He finished runner-up to Josh Allen for league MVP, and he was actually first-team All-Pro last year. It's like the first time since the 80s that a first-team All-Pro did not go on to win the MVP ultimately of that season. But this game, again, while I'm not calling game 1 of the regular season a big game, it obviously was a big game for the Ravens. They wanted revenge. They lost. They had the Buffalo Bills end their season last year in the playoffs. You had Josh Allen snatching that MVP out of Lamar Jackson's hands last year. This was a game they obviously had circled and that they were looking forward to all offseason, and they came out in dominant fashion, and again, they crumble and puke all over themselves like, again, they always do in the postseason, it seems like. And it doesn't matter how good Lamar Jackson has been in the regular season. He's got those 2 league MVPs. Some think it should have been a 3rd last season. But when you look, what does it all mean? Ultimately, this team is Super Bowl championship ready. They are a viable contender. It seems like year in and year out, they typically always have great defenses. They have a tremendous coach. And yet Lamar Jackson, for all of his regular season mastery, has a 3-5 record in 8 playoff games. Just 3-5. He has 13 total touchdowns in those 8 games and 11 turnovers. These losses are largely on him. They typically have good, stout defenses year in and year out, yet Lamar has captained his Ravens offense to an average of 18.6 points per game throughout those 8 playoff appearances, resulting in just that 3-5 record. Lamar Jackson is the principal guy that you should be blaming in these losses. He has everything he needs. He's got the coaches, the defense, the offensive line. They go out a few years ago and get him King Derrick Henry, who had 1,900 rushing yards last year. I think 1,921 to be precise. He was unstoppable last night. He opens up even another element for Lamar Jackson, who, of course, when you couple his running capabilities and threats, basically, as I said, you can't even defend the receivers. You can't cover them at all, but still, yet they find a way. They find a way repeatedly to lose these games. Who else should we be blaming? If Lamar Jackson's defense was giving up like 45 points per game in the postseason, then maybe you can make his defense a scapegoat. Ultimately, though, go back. I defy you guys to look at Aaron Rodgers. Go look at his playoff game losses in Green Bay and look at some of the just absolutely lousy performances by his defense throughout some of those losses. And yet we still blame Aaron Rodgers for only getting to 1 Super Bowl and only winning 1 Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson hasn't sniffed the Super Bowl yet to this point of his career, and he's in his upper 20s now. He's been top 2 3 times in league MVP and won the award twice. We absolutely should be criticizing this guy. Peyton Manning, same deal. Peyton Manning routinely gets the backhand compliment of the greatest regular season quarterback because he is. Peyton Manning is just that damn great in the regular season. He has more first-team All-Pro selections than Tom Brady and Joe Montana combined. He has the same number of league MVPs as Tom Brady and Joe Montana combined. Yet, who do we routinely always bring up and talk about in terms of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? Well, it's always Tom Brady, of course, followed by Joe Montana, because Peyton Manning just could never get it done in the playoffs. But with Peyton Manning, quote, never getting it done in the playoffs, what did that entail? Well, it entailed him going to 4 Super Bowls with 4 different coaches, winning 2 of them, while I believe he is 3rd or 4th. I think he's 4th now all time in playoff wins. He is, of course, behind Tom Brady, Montana, and I am pretty sure Patrick Mahomes passed him recently, or is at the very least tied with him, so he will be passing him shortly. But Peyton Manning, 4th all-time in playoff wins, 4 Super Bowl appearances, again, with 4 different head coaches, and won 2 Vince Lombardis, and still, we crush Peyton Manning routinely for his playoff struggles, and yet, Lamar Jackson, many of you out there, and many people in the mainstream media just want to continue to hand passes out to Lamar Jackson for his putrid performances in the postseason. And again, it ain't just the 3-5. Mark, he isn't playing well in these games. 13 total touchdowns that combines passing and rushing, and 11 total turnovers that combines his interceptions and fumbles lost. The guy just isn't good enough in clutch time. He's not a clutch player. He's not a winner. And until he proves that he is, until he proves that he can be, we just have to keep going on and assuming that he is going to be a loser time in and time again when it really matters most. And it just showed more of the same last night. It just dug it all back up, all of his past failures. When we see last night, the Bills with that shocking comeback, again, scoring 16 points in the final 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And it looks like Josh Allen is just outclassing Lamar Jackson right now, too. Of course, Patrick Mahomes owns both of them, but we'll get into Patrick Mahomes and the state of the Kansas City Chiefs a little later on. I do want to welcome in moderator Gary at this point, who is on hand as he typically always is. Moderator Gary, what's up? Welcome in. Did you go to bed early? Be honest, or did you watch all of that game last night?
Scap, you've had some negative influence on me. I didn't actually go to bed, but when Derrick Henry ran that touchdown in, well, I had some things I needed to do, so I just turned the game off and went and did those things. Came back an hour later and saw the headlines. And I gave up way too soon. You and I are always arguing about how you always give up. Like if a team's down with 5 minutes, you're like, oh, it's over. And I'm always like, oh, you never know. They may come back. And lo and behold, I was like, yep, this game's over. I went against my own philosophy because you influenced me. I can't let you persuade me like that. I have to keep up my optimism.
Yeah, there, as you see it, Josh Allen, reigning league MVP, rallies Bills for 16 points in final 4 minutes. Again, the Ravens were good by and large for much of the game. Lamar Jackson, like I said, had 280 total yards and 3 touchdowns. You see the 209 passing, but he had 70 rushing yards as well and a touchdown. And Derrick Henry was unstoppable. 169 yards rushing on only 18 carries. And Gary, you alluded to, he had that 46-yard touchdown that basically it broke the game open, I thought as well. 46-yarder put them up, very late, put them up 15 with 11 minutes, and it remained the score until there was like under 4 minutes to play. And that's when the Bills just absolutely went to work and just really just shocked the Ravens. The Ravens look every year, Gary, they look like the team to beat in at least the AFC. Right. They're typically always favored, at least in these big Lamar years. The 2 years Lamar won MVP, and then last year, they were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl going into the playoffs, and they have some cataclysmic failure every single year. A lot of that to do with Lamar Jackson. So I think we just need to start blaming Lamar Jackson. I know I have been for years blaming Lamar Jackson. Go ahead.
I think more than Lamar right here. As much as, Derrick Henry's great, he is the one who fumbled the ball. And the defense is the one that couldn't make a stop. So I put the defense and Derrick Henry, even though Derrick Henry's great, I'm not trying to say it's entirely his fault because he did so well throughout the game, but he did fumble at the end. So I didn't actually watch the game. Did Lamar did he choke at the end?
I wouldn't say in last night's game that Lamar choked. I would say in the playoffs, Lamar unequivocally always chokes, which is
He's
why
underwhelming in the playoffs. He doesn't perform like he's supposed to in the playoffs the way he does in a regular season. He's had that history, but last night wasn't on Lamar.
Sure, but even last year, if you look at that Bills loss, the 27-25 loss that I referenced in the semifinals of the AFC playoffs last year, many people point to the Mark Andrews dropped two-point conversion as like the reason why they lost. Like, and making Mark Andrews in to be the scapegoat and the choker of that game. But Lamar was dreadful early in that game. He had two very costly turnovers in the first half, which led to the Bills taking command in that game. And had he not had those turnovers, the Ravens would have been up in that game throughout the second stanza of that game into the second half. So it really, they would not have been playing from behind. They would not have been needing to press and play catch up had it not been for Lamar's puny little performance in the first half of last year. Like I said, the guy just isn't a playoff riser. He never has been. And that's why the Ravens are the best team in the conference. There's no doubt about it. Like the Ravens are better top to bottom. Pretty much the three teams that you bring up or anyone would bring up in the AFC coming in were the Chiefs. Again, we'll talk about them in a bit. The Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. And to me, the Chiefs, I was picking a down year for the Chiefs to begin with from the start this season. And I don't believe in the Chiefs. I actually think I really do want to talk about the game, the one Friday night Brazil on YouTube, where the Chargers, who are my preseason pick to win the AFC West, and they looked like they handled their business on Friday night. We'll talk about that more. I did not believe in the Chiefs this year to begin with, but I think last night the Ravens just dominated the Bills for most of the game. The Bills couldn't stop them, but yet the Ravens still, they just find a way to lose these games. And in the postseason, I think they're just going to find a way to lose. Gary, go ahead. You were wanting to get in there.
I just really quickly wanted to read this super chat we just got real quick, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Yes. Let's put it up. Many thanks to Arizona Anime Fan. Thank you very much for your generous donation here to SKAP Live here in the late morning, I guess, the early afternoon, special day and time, just recapping the weekend that was in the NFL. But Gary, go ahead and let us hear from Arizona Anime Fan this question or comment.
$20 for some beer. Thanks for all the bangers you dropped. Love the rare football coverage and loved watching Josh Allen 17 hanging a 41 spot on that stacked Ravens team.
Yeah, Josh Allen. I mean, the guy, like I said, this guy is just a freak. He's a mutant. I think he had 394 passing yards last night. I'm not sure exactly what his final rush totals were, Gary. Perhaps you can check that out for me. Just get the total yardage. But he had 4 touchdowns. Basically, the entire offense revolves around this guy. He does it all. And he just finds a way, typically, unless he's playing Patrick Mahomes. But I think this year might be the year for the Buffalo Bills to at least get back to the Super Bowl for the first time in, since the mid-'90s. Gary, do you have that rush total? Just cut me off when you do.
Josh Allen rushed for 14 carries for 30 yards and 2 touchdowns. Josh Allen.
Not an overwhelming percentage there, but over 430 total yards roughly for him of offense, and the 4 touchdowns and big completions down the stretch on that final drive to get them into field goal range to kick that ultimately the game-winning field goal. But yeah, it was just a masterpiece performance by him. I think when you look at the best performers from week 1, again, that one game tonight pending between the Vikings and the Bears, but Josh Allen, again, no letdown here off of that MVP campaign last year. He looks like one of, if not the best players still in the NFL. So thank you, Arizona Anime Fan. I do appreciate your kind and generous donation there. Gary, I don't want to spend, we could talk more about the Ravens and the Bills, but I keep saying just the weekend that was, I kind of want to talk just about some overall takeaways that I have, throughout from that I took away watching the games on Saturday. And unfortunately for me, Gary, I am a big Lions fan as of late. I was born and raised in Pittsburgh. And I was a gigantic Steelers fan growing up for pretty much most of my young life and into my early adulthood. And then I just got annoyed with, I wasn't a big Ben Roethlisberger fan, and I just despised Mike Tomlin. So I've kind of left. I've gravitated away from the Steelers in recent years. And the Lions have just caught my attention. This annually ass team. They're just putrid ass of a franchise, Gary. And yet they've just had this kind of renaissance in the last couple years, and they've just come alive. Last year, I thought they were the best team in the NFL. I think they would have won the Super Bowl last year had it not been for the just vast amount of injuries they had on the defensive side of the ball. But it just wasn't meant to be. That playoff game against Washington, they had like no names in on defense. I was watching that game against Washington in the postseason, and at one point in a playoff game, they had two guys in the secondary that had each never played a snap yet at that point of the NFL season. That's how just mired with injuries the Lions were last year. They, of course, Aiden Hutchinson, who I thought was on a trajectory to be Defensive Player of the Year last year, broke his leg in half, never returned from that. And it was just one injury after the next on the defensive side for the Detroit Lions. I think had the Lions not had all of those injuries, they were the 1 seed last year. They won 15 games in the regular season. They had a historical offense. Last year, the Lions averaged just over 3 points per drive last year. I believe it was the second best number this century. That's post 2000s, since that 17-win New England team, which ultimately 17-0 New England team, I should say, that ultimately lost in the Super Bowl to the Giants. So a historic offense for Detroit last year, but all the injuries on defense, it just wasn't meant to be. And I was not high on them coming in this year because they have a brutal schedule and they are in the best division in football. And Gary, yesterday, I'll let you get in here, the Lions got absolutely worked by the Green Bay Packers, whose defense looks extraordinarily stout. You want to get in though? Let me let you slide in before we unpack that game.
Well, I wanted to read this super chat real quick because it kind of, we can wrap a bow around the Ravens Bills with this, and then we can delve more into the Lions. So Money Playbook, thank you for your super chat. He says to you, Scap, so you do realize football is the ultimate team sport for a reason, right? You want Lamar to play defense and special teams too? Stop hating Lamar, bro.
Well, first of all, Money Playbook, thank you very much for your kind donation to the SKAP Live Lounge here. Yes, I am aware, Money Playbook, that football is the ultimate team sport. Again, were you here for my intro, though, when I talk about Peyton Manning, who is statistically the greatest quarterback of all time? I think his peak is high. His peak higher than any player ever. He has, again, more first-team All-Pro selections at the quarterback position than Tom Brady and Joe Montana combined. He has five league MVPs. Nobody in NFL history, there is very few. I think there are 9 guys total that have multiple MVP awards. So there's guys with 2+ MVPs. I think it's only 9 total in league history. I think 5 have 3. No one has 4, and Peyton Manning has 5. That's how individually excellent Peyton Manning was, and yet nobody ever brings up Peyton Manning. It's all about Tom Brady, and it's all about Joe Montana as well. It should be, because those guys were playoff risers. They were clutch players. They were ice cold in the moments when it mattered most, and that does factor in to your all-time legacy. It does factor into how you're remembered in every sport. I talk a lot about the NBA, but the NFL is ultimately no different, especially for the quarterback position. And again, if Lamar, now you can point to last night's game and say, Henry had the fumble, the defense kind of fizzled and fell apart down in the final 5 minutes. All are true. So I'm not taking last night's game as a total referendum on Lamar Jackson necessarily. But when you look at Lamar Jackson's playoff failures, it's just disingenuous to say that he doesn't have the teams around him that he needs to win at a high level to compete for Super Bowls. The Ravens are generally annually very good on the defensive side of the ball. The last time Lamar Jackson won the MVP, which would be 2 seasons ago, I don't think Lamar Jackson even really deserved the MVP because he didn't have to do much. His defense was incredible. I think they became the first defense in the modern era to lead the NFL in takeaways and sacks in the same season. And they were top 3 in points allowed and yards allowed defense that year. Oh, is that not enough help? Does he and the stacked O-line that he has, that's not enough help? And he's the number 1 seed in the conference, and he just throws up on himself in the playoffs. Go back and look at the last time Lamar Jackson won MVP, his first league MVP. They, again, number 1 seed in the AFC. They were the favorites to win the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson came off of his bye week as the 1 seed in the league MVP and got absolutely boat raced by the Titans. Boat raced. King Henry ran all over them that playoff game, and Lamar Jackson was garbage in the first 3 quarters. He absolutely had LeBron-like stat padding in the fourth quarter to get his totals up, but in the first 3 quarters, absolutely putrid. Just get out of here with the excuses for Lamar Jackson. There are excuses, and then there are reasons. For Lamar Jackson, there really are no reasons why he hasn't gotten into a Super Bowl yet. Only excuses. Like, take a look at what Justin Herbert has had to work with, by and large. Look at the coach. Look, Gary, who is that coach? That the worst coach in the NFL, in my estimation, that the Chargers had.
Was it Anthony Lynn?
No. It was this scrawny little nerdy looking white guy. He was like all of probably 40 years old at most.
Was that the guy from the Cowboys? The coordinator from the Cowboys?
No, his name is escaping me because he's such a bum. Well, go ahead. Go, Gary.
Was it Kellen?
No. He was such a bum that his name is escaping me. He was the worst coach in the NFL. They finally replaced him with Harbaugh, and now it looks like the Chargers might be onto something here. Of course, they get rid of all of
Brandon Staley.
Say it again.
Brandon Staley.
Yeah, total loser, scrub, Brandon Staley. The line, typically not good for Justin Herbert either. They got rid of all of his elite skill position players. Last year, his number 1 guy was Ladd McConkey, who does look like he's emerging as a potential elite wide receiver. But that was his lead. His lead target last year was a rookie wide receiver. They got rid of Austin Eckler, obviously, who went to Washington in the offseason last year. So, I mean, they just that is a badly run organization. So when you look at that and you look at Justin Herbert and why has Justin Herbert not had success, to me, it's because that's a badly run organization. The team construct around him has not been good by and large. This year, I believe that it is. This year, I think Justin Herbert is going to make noise in the AFC. And if he doesn't, I think that it's open game to be critical of him. But Lamar Jackson stepped into an ideal situation with a great organization and has had basically everything he needs around him to succeed, and he doesn't. He continues to fail. So I don't want to hear anything about team game. He's got the team around him. He has for years. It's up to him now to take it the rest of the way. I mean, what did Patrick Mahomes? Patrick Mahomes has gone to, we'll talk about him later, 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls. The Ravens are better than the Chiefs in many of these years. But Patrick Mahomes overcomes because Patrick Mahomes is a winner. He's a floor riser. And Lamar Jackson just finds ways to fail. He's a loser. So get out of here with this. It's a team game take stuff. Now, Money Playbook, thank you for diverting me back to that game. Because I could talk Ravens and Lamar Jackson. I'm sorry, LaBum Jackson. I could talk that all day long. But I want to talk about my Lions, who, again, I was not high on, unfortunately, coming into the year. And I'm even lower on them now after yesterday's game. Though it could be, yesterday might be a little example of maybe the Packers are, we're not going to give the Packers enough credit till we get further into the season. We're going to give more blame to the Lions. I think it was maybe a mixture of both. I don't think the Lions are that bad. I think the Packers, though, could potentially be just that good. The Packers, Gary, really just thoroughly dominated this game. 27-13 final. But look, the game really was not that close, to be totally honest with you. The Lions looked really bad. And the Lions, as I said, were historically really good last season. Last season, again, I just want to highlight it. The Lions, second in total offense in yards, first in total offense in points per game, 33 points per game in 2025. And again, 3 points per drive last season is what these Lions put up. Just a historical tour de force on offense for them. But yesterday, they just looked absolutely terrible. This game, 27-13 was the final. A game which wasn't even that close. It was 27-6 with 4 minutes to go in this game before, for whatever reason, Jared Goff was in there. Talk about garbage time, slinging around in garbage time, connected with Isaac Tesla, who is a studly-looking rookie wide receiver with a masterpiece one-hand grab. That made it 27-13. But this game was over basically at halftime. And the Packers, who not a lot of people were talking about quietly coming into this game, they were 5th in total yards defense last year in 2024. And they add, of course, Micah Parsons in the whatever happened with the falling out between he and Jera in Dallas. And Parsons goes to Green Bay on a monster deal, 4 years, $188 million. He had a sack yesterday, so he just fortifies and bolsters that Packers defense, which again was 5th in total defense last season. You would expect them to be even better this year. And Jordan Love just kind of was a methodical game manager yesterday. I think Jordan Love is a great stud young quarterback who basically got hurt in the opener last year against the Eagles, and then he was never quite right physically really all season long. He got banged up again later on in the year. I think Love might take a step to the next level this year. And, you know, they get Matthew Golden. They drafted Matthew Golden with their first pick, a wide receiver, so that their the first wide receiver taken with a first round pick for the Packers in like literally decades. They never did it during the Aaron Rodgers tenure. So Matthew Golden, he was pretty quiet yesterday. I think he ended with only 2 catches for 16 yards, but you know, rookie wide receiver, they're probably going to ramp him up. Packers want to run more or as much as they were last year. You know, they're a strong running game. They have a strong running game, and the Packers were sneakily very good last year. The division was just so damn good. The NFC North with the Lions winning 15 games, the Vikings winning 14 games, and I think the Packers won 11 games. But in terms of total net differential for the season last year, the Packers, I believe, were 5th best league-wide. I think the Packers are going to be very, very good and very difficult to deal with this season. So I think yesterday was just kind of a combination of really great Packers. They're going to be a contender in the NFC, and bad Lions. I think this is going to be, unfortunately, kind of a step back year for them as they lose virtually every coach they have, except for their head man, Danny Campbell, who I love. That's really the reason I kind of gravitated towards the Lions and became a big Detroit Lions fan in recent years. But they lost their offensive, defensive coordinators, a bunch of assistant coaches as well. And the schedule this year is absolutely brutal for the Lions, who play the first place schedule and they're in that tough division. They're out of conference is difficult. So I mean, I can see worlds where Detroit might not make the playoffs, or they're going to be struggling to get in. Meanwhile, like I said, the Packers, sky the limit this year. I really like the way they look. I like where they're trending. Go ahead, Gary.
Wanted to read a super chat real quick, if that's okay. One just came in from the Incorruptible, a regular here in the lounge. Here for Scap and Gaslit Gary. I don't do football, but I love hearing you guys. I'm hoping Nike disbands after that LaFraud commercial.
Yes, we are talking football. I love football, actually. Incorruptible. Welcome. Welcome to the lounge, though. I appreciate you coming in and supporting us here, despite the fact you're not that big into football. As I said in the lead here in the open, I'm pretty much as big with the NFL as I am with the NBA. I probably actually follow the NFL a little bit more closely because I am an obsessive fantasy football player, contributor, owner, whatever you want to call it. But of course, I'm always ready, willing, and able to talk some NBA. We can chat about some NBA as well if you want. We can kind of talk some now. We could talk at the end here. Got a couple games I want to unpack from yesterday. But the LeBron commercial, if you guys aren't aware what the Incorruptible is referring to, I did do a video on it, a quick react to it, if you will, about a week or two ago. It's just an absolutely nauseating commercial. It's only 30 seconds. I think it might have set the Guinness Book of World Records all-time mark for most lies told in a 30-second span. Like, literally not one statement basically was accurate. It was just unbelievable. The peak of hilarity to me was when it was talking about, like, every rival defeated, I think is the line. Every rival defeated. Literally, there were no rivals defeated. I mean, when you look at the LeBron era, like, who are the best players in the LeBron era? Kobe Bryant. Like, LeBron never even played Kobe in the playoffs because he choked his ass off in 8, 9, 10 or whatever. The 3 years Kobe was going to the finals against, the two teams, ultimately won 2 years against the two teams that ended LeBron's seasons. LeBron had the number 1 seed in the entire playoffs those 2 years and was the league MVP, over 60 wins, and he fizzled out both years in the playoffs, and Kobe went on and won those 2 championships against those 2 teams that bested him. And then, of course, who else? Steph Curry, another elite player in the LeBron era. Well, Curry is 3-1 against the Fraud King in the finals. Oh, let's not forget about moderator Gary here, a.k.a. Gaslighter Gary, as the Incorruptible will have you know. His San Antonio Spurs and Timmy Duncan, who has a 2-1 record against the Fraud King in the finals. Need I go on? Nikola Jokic, the other, like, blue chip marquee all-time great in the LeBron era. Well, he's 2-1 against LeBron in the playoffs, including the last 2 wins and including 4-0 and 4-1 in those last 2 wins. So exactly what rivals were defeated? Gary, obviously, I'll let you get in here, but someone mentioned in the comments of that video that I didn't mention Dirk. That's fair. Dirk's another top, 20 all-time player who also humiliated LeBron in an NBA Finals. Go ahead, Gary.
And Anthony Edwards, who is essentially the NBA version of Lamar Jackson, he beat LeBron last year in the playoffs in the first round while the Lakers were favored. If you go back and you watch, all the analysts were talking about how easily the Lakers are going to beat the Timberwolves round 1. No one gave the Timberwolves a chance. None of the media heads gave them a chance. And he choked. So he didn't even beat one choker. He out-choked a notorious choker.
Like I said, Gary, like we can all agree on, no rivals were defeated. Like it's just a hilarious line that they slid in there. Like, why not get on there and just be like, LeBron, longevity, like nobody scores more points total combined than LeBron. Like, no one does more steroids. No one takes care of their body more and sustains themselves better than LeBron. Behold, like the stat king or the longevity king or what. But no, it's every rival defeated. He's snatching the crown. Behold the forever king. It's absolute unequivocal garbage. And yeah, it's just a disgusting play by Nike. I don't even know how they can live with themselves, the marketing team, for putting that out. But incorruptible, many thanks for sliding in here and for supporting the SKAP Lounge here. I do appreciate it. And obviously, I'm always willing, just like I'm always willing to trash Lamar Jackson, I'm always willing to trash LeBron James as well. So absolutely my pleasure. But Gary, let's just jump back to I think we were just about putting the bow on the Lions and Packers game. I mean, it was not pretty for the Lions. Again, such a prolific offense. They were virtually unguardable last year, I thought. To me, Jahmyr Gibbs, one of the most electric, dynamic young players in the NFL. He touched the ball yesterday 19 times. That includes 10 catches. So 9 carries, 10 receptions, 50 total yards. He had 10 catches for 31 yards. No scores for him, but just absolutely bottled up were the Lions all day yesterday. There was really no openings anywhere. Goff was under heavy duress. He looked bad. They looked bad overall. And the Packers did virtually anything they wanted offensively. They just kind of controlled the game. So a great start for the Packers, a terrible start for the Lions, who again were 15-2 last year in 17 regular season games. They start off 0-1 in division, an untenable start for them. Gary, but I do want to talk about, I want to move on to this next game. I don't know if yesterday, I think a big theme in the NFL yesterday was guys in new places, new fresh starts for a lot of different guys. There was a lot of quarterbacks in particular that switched teams. And one of those guys who has just been essentially a perennial laughing stock in the NFL, essentially since he was drafted, is Daniel Jones, who got booed by his home team fans in New York when he was drafted and really never materialized there. The Giants have just been an absolute laughing stock of the NFL essentially since he was drafted. And they cut ties finally with Danny Dimes in the offseason. And Daniel Jones went to the Colts. There was speculation in the offseason that Daniel Jones would be the guy, that he would assume that number one role and take it over Anthony Richardson, who you got to wonder what his future is in the NFL now. Speaking of early first-round pick quarterbacks that don't pan out early on. But Daniel Jones got there. He was named not only the starter, but we were told that the leash would be long and that Daniel Jones essentially was the guy all year long, which to me was just a puzzling move. Again, because I thought this is basically a make it break it year for Richardson. You want to get him in, see what you have there, if anything, and if not, sever ties completely with him. But it's Daniel Jones. It's Daniel Jones's job. It's Daniel Jones's job to lose. And if yesterday could serve as any kind of impetus for what his year might look like moving forward, he's not going to be losing this job. He looked absolutely fantastic yesterday, as did the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts, who, here's another little trivia moment here in the SKAP Lounge for you. The Colts, I want to get this right. I think they lost 11 consecutive season openers, Gary, which is almost impossible to believe that they go over a decade of not winning a single opening game. And Daniel Dimes yesterday, just absolutely a tour de force performance from him. The Colts. They became the first team since 1978 to score on every single drive of a game. Daniel Jones with an 87.6 QPR yesterday, which is the 5th best league-wide for the opening week. Again, we only have that one more Monday night game tonight with Bears and Vikings pending. But Daniel Jones with nearly an 88 QBR, he was fantastic. And the Colts looked fantastic. It looks like the Colts, who have been that's a very competitive division. You never really know which way that division is going to go. The Colts are always in the mix, it seems like, to win the division. It looks like, to me, they are the odds-on favorite. I like Jacksonville this year as kind of a dark horse, especially with adding Travis Hunter in the offseason. I thought this could be the year that we see something major out of Trevor Lawrence. But if yesterday the Jaguars just kind of looked lackadaisical against the Carolina Panthers, whereas the Colts looked unstoppable offensively. Now, we have to temper our excitement, I think, somewhat, though, because they were playing the Miami Dolphins. And at the other end of the spectrum, if the Colts looked great and if Daniel Jones looked great, the Miami Dolphins looked like heinous. Oh, my God. They looked like arguably the worst team in the league, actually, yesterday. It was a brutal watch. This game was 30-0 with I think it was 6 minutes to go in the fourth. It was 30-0. And Tua on the other side of the QBR spectrum, I mentioned Daniel Jones with nearly an 88 QBR. That's out of a 100-point scale. Tua was a 2.7 total QBR, just awful. And Mike McDaniels, the alleged offensive guru head coach there, it's looking like it's going all downhill for both coach and quarterback. This season could go extraordinarily badly if yesterday can serve as any kind of a trend for that moving forward. Devon Achane looked like basically the only competent player on the team for the Dolphins. He averaged 7.5 yards per touch, but unfortunately, he only got 10 touches, 7 carries, and 3 receptions. So they were obviously out of game script for the run, but they just have to find a way. Mike McDaniels needs to game plan more touches, obviously, for him. And the Dolphins defense looked absolutely terrible. Tua, I just don't know what to say. The guy signed a monster contract a few years ago, huge guarantees. He's got probably about $200 million all told committed to him that he will get in some capacity. And I just don't know. He takes these brutal, vicious hits. It looks like he's having seizures on the side, in the middle of the field when he takes some of these big hits. He has a plethora of concussions in his past. And basically every time he takes one of these hellacious hits, I'm just waiting for that to be it, for it to be, he's just going to retire and walk away. He keeps coming back. I don't know what for, maybe just the love of the game. He's a competitor, I guess. You got to take your hat off to that. But this team looks terrible when they play winning teams. They look terrible when they play teams over 500. And they looked absolutely horrible yesterday. Again, arguably the worst performance I saw yesterday. I think they were the worst team I saw all day yesterday. You can throw Carolina in the mix and maybe even the Lions, but the Lions were playing a great Green Bay team, which we just talked about. Gary, I don't know if you want to add anything on this one.
No, there's not a lot to say. I will say that obviously I don't think Daniel Jones is going to do this every week, but I haven't been as sour on Daniel Jones as a lot of people, because I actually saw some bright spots at times, potential in him with New York. If you remember, there were a few patches there where he looked like he was rising up to be pretty good, but it was always inconsistent. But that was because the team's so inconsistent. So I'm not surprised to see him do well. I don't expect him to turn to a Pro Bowler, but I don't think he's garbage like the way a lot of people do.
He had one really good year, I think, which wasn't a really good year. It was one good year, like a passable, like a serviceable, like he looks like a real viable NFL quarterback. And then they gave him too much money off of that, and then he just kind of regressed back. So, we'll see how much of it was him, how much of it was team. Again, the Giants looked terrible yesterday again. And Brian Daboll, their head coach, former coach of the year, by the way, Brian Daboll, is non-committal now already after one game for the quarterback spot next week. It's Russell Wilson, but it looks like they might be making a panic change already to Jackson Dart, their first round pick. Go ahead, Gary.
One quick question. My last question of the Colts Dolphins. What the heck happened to Tyreek Hill? Where was he? 4 receptions for 40 yards. He's supposed to be one of the most electric receivers in the league, if not the most electric receiver in the league.
Yeah, well, and Jalen Waddle there didn't have a good game either. I think he had 3 catches for 30 yards, so not good either on his end. I think the writing was on the wall coming into this season. Tyreek Hill, I think there was some regression, some slippage. It looked like his speed was maybe he had lost a step. He was dealing with some injuries last season, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I actually did expect a down year here, a step back kind of for Tyreek Hill, but you know, how much of that is Hill? How much of it is Tua? Again, 2.7 total QBR for Tua yesterday. This could be a very, very long and uncomfortable season in Miami for Tua and for Mike McDaniels. I think if they continue to look this bad, if this is the trend for the season for them, I think Mike McDaniels is likely out. And I think maybe they make a change at quarterback as well moving forward. But Gary, speaking of new people in new places, new names in different cities, and quarterbacks in particular, yes, Daniel Jones jumped to the Colts from the Giants in the offseason, but we also had the Jets and the Steelers playing yesterday, and they essentially just swapped quarterbacks. Yes, Justin Fields didn't play the predominant amount of the season for Pittsburgh last year, as they had Russell Wilson playing most of the season. But Justin Fields did play, I think, the first 4 or 5 games for the Steelers last year. I thought he looked pretty damn good in those first 4 or 5 games. I thought that they should have stayed with Justin Fields all season long and saw what they had from him. But the delicate genius Mike Tomlin had to make that switch to Russell Wilson last year. And of course, we know how that went with yet another season where the Steelers didn't win a damn thing come playoff time. And Justin Fields then leaves Pittsburgh in the offseason. And the Steelers end up going with Aaron Rodgers, who left the Jets in the offseason. So you've got Fields go to the Jets, Rodgers to Pittsburgh, and the two played yesterday. And Gary, in just a rare turn of events, something that you don't see happen very frequently, I think both teams went out here. Both teams looked really good yesterday. Both guys looked really good. I thought Rodgers looked great. I thought Justin Fields looked great. And in the surprise of the day, you had an absolute shootout between Pittsburgh and New York, 34-32 final. The Steelers win it. But this game had a 38 over-under going in. So almost both teams outscored the team over-under set by Las Vegas by themselves. The second highest scoring game of the entire day, second only to that 41-40 masterpiece that the Ravens and Bills treated us to on Sunday night. But ultimately, as good as Justin Fields looked, and he did look good, the Jets offense looks very dynamic with him on it. They ran great yesterday. Everybody did. Fields, Allen, Hall, like everybody was getting into the mix. But Rodgers ultimately gets the last laugh. 17 points for the Steelers in the fourth quarter. And Aaron Rodgers with 4 touchdowns and no turnovers. So he looked like he has a little bit left in the tank now all of a sudden. It was a bizarre offseason for him. It looked like he was mulling overtime. It looked like he was mulling a retirement at one point of the offseason. And it also ultimately looked like he really wanted to go to Minnesota. And it seemed as if Minnesota was entertaining at least the possibility of bringing in Aaron Rodgers. They ultimately decide to go with J.J. McCarthy, the second-year kid from Michigan, coming off of that knee injury, which cost him all of his rookie season. So Rodgers, ho-hum, just settles for the Pittsburgh Steelers at like the 11th hour, comes in, barely participates in camp, doesn't play a single snap in the preseason, and he just looks great yesterday against the Jets. Though we don't really know what to expect from New York's defense. We though do know what to expect from the Steelers defense, Gary. I'll let you in here in a minute, which is the Steelers defense is supposed to be one of the league bests, and they just got shredded yesterday. But at least for one day, Aaron Rodgers looked like old Aaron Rodgers and not just an old Aaron Rodgers. He turned back the hands of time. Again, 4 touchdowns, no picks. DK Metcalf, the big offseason acquisition from Seattle, 5 years, $150 million deal that the Steelers are paying him. he looked pretty good in his debut. 4 catches for 83 yards, and the Steelers off to that 2-0 start, that 1-0 start, 34-32 final. Gary, go ahead. What did you have to add?
I was just going to point out that my biggest takeaway from that game, besides Aaron Rodgers doing pretty well, is that Aaron Glenn appears like he has a lot of potential to become a really good head coach.
That's fair. He looked good yesterday, and we'll see.
Look at how the Lions looked without him. Sometimes the coordinators are a lot more valuable than they get credit for.
Very, very true. Garrett, let me just take a break here real quick because we got a couple more super chats in. So let's just slide these in here real quick. Yeah. Samson the Current, who is a regular. Welcome into you. Thank you for being here. Gary, go ahead with this question or comment from Samson.
He says, SKAP NFL time. How can we trash Braun, though? The next one is B Twix talks about the Steelers. You want to grab that one real quick, and then we'll go back and talk about Braun? Okay.
Sure. Go ahead. B Twix, welcome to the party, pal. Thanks for being here. B Twix, obviously a regular as well here in the lounge. I appreciate you finding us here on this special football day and time and dropping us this question or comment. Gary, go ahead with it.
SKAP, we are done with the Steelers slander. They will be in the AFC Championship because they finally have a real quarterback for the first time in 5+ years.
B Twixt again, Pittsburgh born and raised here. I'm from the 412. I've got black and gold pumping through my veins. I still carry a 412 area code, even though on my cell phone, even though I live in Florida now. I would love nothing else. Well, I would firstly love the Mike Tomlin regime to come to an emphatic end. But other than that, I would love nothing else than to have, the Pittsburgh Steelers be good again, be on top again. But I just won't believe it until I see it. Firstly, the Ravens, despite the fact the Ravens are 0-1 and the Steelers are 1-0, I still think the Ravens are, that team is unbeatable to me. They just beat themselves. That's why they're never going to win the Super Bowl. That's why I'm never going to pick them to win the Super Bowl. But to me, they are arguably the best team in the league. So while I don't like them in the playoffs, I do like the Ravens to win the division. Cincinnati, I would have to think, should be considered favorites over the Steelers in the divisional hierarchy, even though Cincinnati did not look good yesterday. The Browns really should have won that game, but Cleveland just did Cleveland things at the end and found a way to choke that game away. They really should have beat Cincinnati. Cincinnati, who got off to a slow start last year, which cost them a playoff spot. But that Cincinnati offense is just so dynamic, and Joe Burrow is such a stud that I have to favor both of those teams over the Steelers just in the division alone. And then when you're looking at the AFC conference as a whole, I'm out on Kansas City this year, but if they get into the playoffs, I do not believe or trust in Mike Tomlin's ability to beat a Patrick Mahomes-led team. I'm high on the Chargers this year. I just don't know. You've got the Bills and Josh Allen. Again, they own the Steelers too. I do not see the Steelers. Maybe they can, I don't know. You say they will be in the AFC Championship game. They damn well won't clear the AFC Championship game. I still am pumping the brakes on the Pittsburgh Steelers season-long outlook. I think they will probably be in competition for a wild card. I do not see them winning a playoff game. I think the Mike Tomlin playoff winless streak will continue for yet another year, Betwixt. So don't hold your breath. I wouldn't if I were you on this Pittsburgh Steelers renaissance that you have planned out in the Steel City. We'll see. Ultimately, the Jets aren't expected to be a conference-wide powerhouse, and that game was touch and go, back and forth the whole way. So we'll see what the Steelers get back at me, maybe at the quarter point. Let's see how they look after like 4 or 5 games and how the rest of the conference looks. And now let's jump back to Samson the Current. Gary, go ahead with this one.
SKAP NFL time. How can we trash Braun, though? Will we make fun of that ridiculous ad he just came out with?
Well, yeah, I didn't bring LeBron up here, Samson. I'm always willing, ready, and able to talk LeBron, though. So the incorruptible I believe, brought LeBron up. There you have it. Brought up that LeBron commercial. So, I was just essentially reacting to that. So, Braun, I mean, yes, he doesn't necessarily mix with my NFL stuff, though he does. LeBron is always throwing himself into NFL things from time to time. If you remember where he's wearing the Cowboys hat earlier on in his career, he was an allegedly a top 10 national tight end recruit in his high school days when he was playing for St. Vincent St. Mary's. He actually was teasing when the NBA was going on strike one year that he might want to play football for a little bit, and obviously it never happened. But LeBron, I think when the Lakers were, I think 2 years ago, they were mired in a little tough patch, a losing streak, and it was during the NFL playoffs. So LeBron, and one of the reporters asked, LeBron, how do you guys get over these tough losses in these last few games? And LeBron said, well, I'm just going to go watch some NFL playoffs. That's how I'm going to get over it. So we know LeBron is a big NFL fan. So LeBron, football, whatever, doesn't quite mesh or mix, but if someone wants to bring up LeBron, we can always talk LeBron. We are getting closer. I think we're about 6 weeks-ish away from the NBA tip. So I'll obviously be doing more stuff and covering the NBA more as we get closer to that. But I'm just so lathered up to talk football. I want to get back in there's a couple more games that I want to talk about. Then we can go whatever. We can talk about whatever you want. But there's a couple more games I want to get to. Really just one more game, I think, because I think that it is an impactful outcome. Look, you never want to read too much into a week one thing, really, in real football, fantasy football, whatever. You don't want to get, overly anxious or make, too stringent of takes one way or the other after just one outcome, one game. But I do think that Chiefs-Chargers game from Friday night in Brazil, I think that we might be seeing a sea change in the AFC West, which is a massive storyline because the Chiefs have been so dominant for so many years. This was really Tom Brady and New England 2.0 with Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, with how excellent he has been, how great they have been, and what a stranglehold they have had on the AFC West and the AFC as a large. 9 straight division titles. The Chiefs were going for their 10th consecutive AFC West crown this very season. They've been to 5 of the last 6 Super Bowls, including 3 consecutive Super Bowls. And yet, coming into the year, I like the Chargers and Justin Herbert to take the step to finally dethrone the Chiefs from winning the AFC West. And after seeing what I saw on Friday night, I certainly am not backtracking from that. The Chargers absolutely look like they have what it takes to take down the Kansas City Chiefs this season and halt them from that 10th straight division crown of the West. If you missed the game, it was, again, Friday night. And, 27-21 was the final. Looked like a close game. However, the Chargers dominated that game largely in the first half. They were up 10 points for most of the entire first half. But as the Chiefs are prone to do, and as they did all last regular season, they just hung in there. They kept it close. They cut it to a 2-point game with roughly 12 minutes to go in the fourth. But Justin Herbert responded with about a 7-minute touchdown drive to re-seize control of that game. And they just led from wire to wire. Herbert ended up running out the clock at the end of the game. And it was just, to me, a very dominant message to send to Kansas City, a team that has owned the division. Herbert honestly just outclassed Patrick Mahomes in the game. We don't expect Herbert to be that prolific this season, at least statistically. I think Herbert is a great real-life quarterback, not a very good statistical or fantasy football quarterback, if you will. But he just outplayed Mahomes, outclassed Mahomes. Herbert, 25 of 34, 318 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the night, an 89 QBR, and a 131 QB rating against what was a very, very stingy Kansas City defense last season. And look, we don't really know what to expect from this offense of Kansas City moving forward. I think we're still waiting to see what's going on with Xavier Worthy and his shoulder injury. If you didn't see the game, Mr. Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce decleated Xavier Worthy on a crossing pattern early in the game. I think it was like the third snap of the game, and just absolutely disintegrated Xavier Worthy. Like, he just crumpled to the ground in like a ball of smoke, and then limped into the locker room with a towel over his head. He has a dislocation in the shoulder. Still waiting, I think, on imaging to see, what's going on with the ligaments and the structural components there. He may be able to return in a few weeks with like a brace on, or he may need season-ending surgery. As I record this live stream at 12:37 p.m. on the East Coast, I still have yet to hear an update on that shoulder. Of course, we know that Rashee Rice, their suspected number one wide receiver, he's been suspended. He accepted a suspension of 6 games to start this season, stemming from a multitude of criminal charges from his drunk driving charge, whatever. I don't know if they actually nailed him on the drunk driving or if he was found sleeping in his car or something. After crushing the speed limit, I don't know, like doubling the speed limit in some zone.
I thought
I'm not sure exactly what the details were, but I think he was facing like a couple felony charges, and the league ultimately suspended him 6 games. He accepted also, I believe, a full month in jail was part of his plea arrangement on the criminal side of things. So anyway, Rashee Rice out for the first 6 games at least. Now we know that Xavier Worthy is probably going to miss a couple as well. And Travis Kelce, his 37-yard touchdown in this game against the Chargers notwithstanding, he looks pretty washed to me at this point. So Mahomes with not a lot to work with offensively at this stage. So I think this is a changing passing of the torch, if you will, at least for 1 year. I think the Chargers are going to be the team to beat in the West. And I think the Chiefs, I like them to make the playoffs, but it's going to be in the capacity of a wild card for the first time now in a decade, as their reign of 9 straight division wins, I think, has come to an end. And it's just a statement made by the Chargers in that game in Brazil. And hopefully, I think a statement made by Justin Herbert. I think big things for him to come this year. Like I brought his name up earlier in this live stream. I think that organization has not been run well. I think he had one of the worst coaches I've ever seen for like 2 years. But now they've got a viable coach. I mean, say what you will about Harbaugh and all of the collegiate infringements that he had. Probably he would have been facing a multitude of corrective actions by the NCAA. Who knows what it would have been, whether suspensions, losing wins, whatever. Harbaugh, everywhere he goes, every place he shows up at, he just wins. He just makes teams better. Remember what he did with San Francisco about a decade ago. They seem to be a perennial Super Bowl contender. He got into the Super Bowl actually with Colin Kaepernick and lost to his brother in the Ravens in that Super Bowl. But they were a perennial 11, 12 win team. They were always challenging for that division crown. They were always a Super Bowl contender. And then he goes to the collegiate level and he wins the championship at that level as well. And now he's in LA in year 2 here with the Chargers. He's got his guy, rookie running back Amarian Hampton. The defense looks much improved. And Justin Herbert is to me, a top 5 real life quarterback. While it doesn't always show up in the box scores or the fantasy realm of things, I think Justin Herbert is a stud. And I think he has the coaching staff, the defense, the run game now to complement him. I think the Chargers are going to be tough in the AFC this year, not just the West. Gary, what say you about my Chargers take and the state of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, I guess it's still a little early to tell anything for sure. I don't want to count out Kansas City, but at the same time, they've just got a lot of things. I'm sorry, but I think that Travis Kelce, I don't know how at this stage of his career, how he if you recall, towards the end of that game, I think KC was down by, I want to say it was down by 9, and they were in the red zone. If Kelsey just continues to run a yard out, he catches that ball that probably would have been caught for a touchdown, and then they would have been down by like 2 or 3 with 2.5 minutes to go. And I want to say at that time they had 3 timeouts. All Kelsey had to do was continue running, and he stops, and the ball hits the ground. And Patrick Mahomes is shrugging. He's like, what are you doing? So I think that's indicative that Travis Kelce's on his way out. He's not who he used to be, because old Travis Kelce, no way he misses that. So Kansas City is looking a little on the decline, but the thing is, with Reed and Mahomes, they always seem to figure it out. So they'll still be a top team in the AFC. If they do lose this year in the playoffs, I expect Kelsey will likely retire, and they're going to regroup, and they'll sign some new guys and reload with Mahomes and Reed, like the Patriots used to do with Brady and Belichick.
I mean, this is, I think, regardless of whatever way it goes, Kelsey's last year. I don't think he's going to get back after this season, win, lose, draw, whatever. I don't see him returning next year. I think had they won that three-peat last year in the Super Bowl, had they beaten the Eagles, I think he would have retired and ridden off into the sunset with Tay-Tay. So I just don't see him getting back into it. I think he was going to be a complimentary guy. Like last year, they didn't have much. Rashee Rice looked like an absolute beast last year. He was unguardable in the first 3 games of the season. And then Mahomes actually threw an uncharacteristically crappy pass for Patrick Mahomes, and it was intercepted. And Rashee Rice, for those of you who don't remember this was game 3, I believe. Rashee Rice was tracking down the interceptor. I think this happened against the Chargers, actually, speaking of them. Rashee Rice was running down the guy that picked the pass, and Mahomes was trying to make a tackle on the guy that picked the pass, and Mahomes dove at and obliterated Rashee Rice's knee. So that is the way Rashee Rice's season ended last year. I remember it vividly because Rashee Rice was wide receiver 2 in fantasy at the time, and he happened to be on my fantasy team. So I remember that vividly, and Rashee Rice looked like he was just going to be an unstoppable guy last year, and they lost him. So this year, presumptively, everybody's coming back. They had Marquise Hollywood Brown was supposed to be ready and able, and their number 3 guy this year to complement Rashee when he gets back from suspension, and Xavier Worthy. Of course, now Rice, though, is suspended for those 6 games. Xavier Worthy, we don't know. It's still up in the air on his health status. So you go from, Hollywood Brown being your number 3 guy to your top guy right now. Doesn't bode very well, I don't think, for the Chiefs because, Travis Kelce just ain't that guy anymore. So, again, friendly fire. Last year it was Patrick Mahomes who takes out Rashee Rice. This year it's Travis Kelce who takes out Xavier Worthy. And I just don't think it's in the cards for the Chiefs. I think they were exposed in some degree last year as well in the Super Bowl in that humiliation against the Philadelphia Eagles. And I will say the one thing about Mahomes, to me, he is an absolute stud. He is kind of Brady 2.0, not quite Brady level though, but he is arguably the closest thing we've seen. You had Joe Montana, then we didn't see anything like that till we got Tom Brady. Then you didn't see anything like that till we got Patrick Mahomes. But, Brady never got humiliated in playoff games. Like, he never got humiliated in Super Bowls. Like, every loss Brady got in the Super Bowl could have went either way. Like, the 3 losses he ended up losing to the Giants twice on last play drives, like game-winning drives by Eli in 1-score losses. And then the Eagles lost to Brady, the one loss that he got to Nick Foles and the Eagles. Like, Brady had 500 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, no turnovers in that game, or no interceptions. He did have the late fumble. But the Patriots did not punt once in that game. And they lost, I don't know, I think it was 39-33 or something like that was the final. So, those are the 3 losses Brady has. So he's not getting humiliated in these games. Patrick Mahomes got dusted by Brady in the Tampa loss. They lost by like 3 touchdowns. And then last year against the Eagles was even worse, if you could believe it. Like an even more humiliating loss than that Tampa game. So I think there is maybe just a little just something has happened maybe since that game with Mahomes. Not only Mahomes, because he was missing throws in that game in that Super Bowl, and he missed throws in Brazil against the Chargers, and the defense didn't look good in either place in against the Eagles or the Chargers. And the Chiefs relied on their defense last year, and it looks like they're going to have to rely on them again this year. So I just don't think they're going to find a way into the playoffs, but I'm not expecting big things from the Chiefs this year. Go ahead, Gary.
Actually, Tom Brady did get blown out in one of the Super Bowls against the Falcons, but then he came back and won.
Right. I was confused for a second. I was like, which game is he talking about? But yes, Brady was down 28-3 with like 3.5 minutes to go in the third quarter of a Super Bowl in which he did not have Gronkowski, in which his leading scorers or his leading wide receivers were like Danny Amendola and
Julian Edelman.
Right. Edelman, and who was the running back out of the, it was like a running back caught like
James White.
Was it James White?
Yeah.
At least one. So think about that. Edelman, Amendola, and White are Tom Brady's leading wide receivers in a Super Bowl that he trailed 28-3 with 3 minutes left and came back and won that game. That's the kind of stuff Tom Brady does. So we just need to stop this Patrick Mahomes is better than Tom Brady garbage narrative. It ain't close. Brady's the GOAT by far, but Mahomes may be the next best of anybody else ever other than Tom Brady. So I certainly don't mean to impugn the great Patrick Mahomes. He's just not Tom Brady. He never was, he never will be. In fact, Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes, I think, has lost 4 playoff games. I think he's 16-4 in his postseason career, which is insane. That a guy that's not even 30 yet, he's tied with Joe Montana for most playoff wins, second most playoff wins ever. He's passed Peyton Manning, has Patrick Mahomes, and he's tied Joe Montana with 16 playoff wins. But Tom Brady is number one on that list with like 37. Like, it's not close. But 16-4 is Patrick Mahomes' playoff record at this point. He lost 1 game to the stud that is Joey Burrow. He lost 1 game last year to Hurts and that wrecking ball of a Philadelphia Eagles defense that they had. And then the other 2 losses were to an advanced aged Tom Brady, like an old, like past his prime Tom Brady. He beat Mahomes in Kansas City in an AFC Championship game. Brady was an underdog in that game. And then he beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl in which Tom Brady was an underdog in that game and humiliated him in that game. Take Tom Brady's name out of your mouths, everybody. Like, it's not close. It never was. It never will be. But for everybody else that has ever lived in NFL history, we can kind of start talking maybe Patrick Mahomes is above all of them but Tom Brady. Go ahead, Gary. I don't know if you wanted to get back in.
No, I just say probably my Mount Rushmore quarterbacks would be Brady, Montana, Mahomes, and Peyton Manning. Because I'd say Peyton Manning's the closest thing we had to Brady, but before Mahomes.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with any of those. I'd say that's probably my Mount Rushmore as well. Though I have Elway pretty high on my list. And then older school guys like Bart Starr.
Right. Yeah.
But that's kind of pre-modern era. But I'd say your 4 are solid. I think I wouldn't argue any one of those 4, especially with – look, I don't like to anoint young players too quickly. I don't like to give young guys too much credit too soon. But Mahomes, he's been in the league for 9 years, like I said. 9 years for him. 9 – now, he didn't win. The first one was Alex Smith. But the Chiefs have won 9 straight division crowns. Like, that's – not a coincidence. Like, Andy Reid was a tremendous coach for years in Philadelphia. One of the winningest coaches in NFL history in his first stint with the Eagles. He got to 3 or 4 NFC championship games over that span of time, appeared in Super Bowls, but he never won anything until Patrick Mahomes came along. And now all of a sudden he's got 3 rings on his fingers, all thanks to the mastery of Patrick Mahomes, who is an absolute stud. 9 years in, 6 Super Bowls or 5 Super Bowl appearances. 9 years, 5 Super Bowl appearances for him and 3 rings. That is Tom Brady type stuff. It's just not quite Tom Brady, because Brady was doing it with much less offensive stuff that Patrick Mahomes had to work with. Mahomes has perennial first pro guys, it seems like. Tyreek Hill earlier on, Travis Kelce throughout his entire tenure, and then Andy Reid, the offensive genius mastermind, whereas Tom Brady had Bill Belichick, who I would like to just take a little aside on that whole thing real fast. The Bill Belichick, Tom Brady thing. Is it Brady? Is it Belichick? That was the age-old debate for like 20 years, to the point where we just got to it and said, well, Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback ever. Bill Belichick is the greatest coach ever. Look at Bill Belichick and what a loser that guy is without Tom Brady. And it's not a small sample size, to say the least. Like, it's at least a decade. I think it might be more than a decade of stuff that we can look to and see, like, how did Bill Belichick perform when he didn't have Tom Brady as his quarterback versus when he did. Bill Belichick, I believe, has 1 total playoff appearance in his entire coaching tenure without Tom Brady, whereas he's the winningest coach ever in the postseason with Tom Brady. And then, of course, after Tom Brady left, when he was washed, after he left in New England, Brady went to a team that hadn't made the playoffs in 10 years in Tampa Bay, one of the worst franchises in the modern Super Bowl era in the Buccaneers. And Brady won the Super Bowl that very year, while Bill Belichick ultimately went on to get fired in New England. And then how is Billy faring at the college level now? Of course, nobody wanted him in the NFL. He wanted to keep on coaching this year. Nobody wanted him at the NFL level. So he goes to the collegiate level where he's coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels. And they just got boat raced. I believe it was by TCU in their first game, their opener. So Belichick not faring so well sans Brady. But while Andy Reid could never win the big game, he couldn't get over the hump in the Super Bowl or whatever, or win those conference championships in Philadelphia. But he was certainly a Hall of Fame coach. I mean, he would have been in the Hall of Fame, Andy Reid would have, just from his stint in Philadelphia, I believe. So he was a Hall of Fame guy and an offensive guy. So Mahomes has had a lot more to work with than Tom Brady ever had. And yet Brady, 10 Super Bowl appearances for him, 7 wins. Now, Mahomes is obviously like on a trajectory where he could get to that many Super Bowls, 5 Super Bowls. He's not even 30 yet, and he has the 3 wins already. I don't think he gets to 7. He might get into 10 or maybe 9 or 10, but I don't think he's going to win 7 of them. And like I said, he's been humiliated in 2 of his high-profile losses. So I think we just need to pump the brakes on the Brady Mahomes comps. But in terms of just Mahomes versus everybody else, yes, Gary, I think he is probably you can start making the case for him above anybody else. Maybe you still put Montana above him. Maybe it's a little even too soon to move him above Peyton Manning, but I think you can make the case for sure that he's over Peyton Manning just because of, again, 16-4. I think Peyton Manning, I believe he's 14-13 in his playoff lifetime, I believe, is Peyton Manning. And Mahomes is 16-4. So I think you can certainly build a narrative that has Mahomes over Peyton Manning. But Peyton Manning was as great of a tactician and play caller and just defensive kind of reader or whatever you want to call it, dissecting defenses, breaking down defenses, pre-snap, and like then seeing what's happening during the play. He was as good as any guy ever. So I think he certainly deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore. But Gary, I've got one. I'll read one to you from B Twixt here, this super chat, because it's to you. So let me read this one to you. Gaslight Gary, when you going to lose to me in Madden?
When have I ever given any indication on any single one of these live streams that I play video games? Hey, I don't play video games. So why do you keep challenging me to Madden when I don't even play video games? I'm not interested in video games. So
fair. That's fair. Yeah, B-Twix. We're just a couple of old guys. Like, we don't play games. I actually really didn't play. I played some Madden actually when I was younger, but that was in my collegiate years several years ago. So I haven't played. I used to basically only play sports games like Madden or NBA Live or something like that would be what I played when I was far younger. I haven't played video games in many years. I can't even remember the last time I had some kind of a video game controller in my hands. We've got Samson the Current is back in again. Samson, thank you for coming back in. And B-Twix, thank you for coming back in and supporting the SKAP Lounge here. Gary, go ahead with Samson's most recent question or comment.
In all of Brady's 3 losses, he left with the lead.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, to me, look, the chinks in the Belichick armor started showing in the Philadelphia Super Bowl, where you had Nick Foles, a backup quarterback, come in, and they just couldn't get him off the field. He was just slinging it all over the field, all over Belichick's defense that year. Brady, again, I think that game against the Eagles, he has the all-time record for most passing yards in a single Super Bowl. I think it was like 530 something. And he had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. And yet they get the loss in that game. And you're right. The 2 Giants losses, Brady did take late leads in those 2 games. So yeah, it's hard. Now look, Brady also conversely could have lost almost any of those games, those Super Bowls. All of them were close, tight, kind of like 1-score games, sort of, other than coincidentally the Patrick Mahomes game against the Chiefs. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers obliterated the Chiefs. That was like the only blowout. So yeah, I mean, there's just, I think Mahomes has the it factor where you never count him out. You always think he has a chance. He plays bigger than not in those moments. To me, and this is where we can bring the way we started this live stream full circle and talk about that Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson game, and just Lamar Jackson, the plight of Lamar Jackson in his playoff career to this point. There are, I think, certain guys, while I think in the NBA and the NFL alike, you can certainly make excuses or give reasons for why they struggle. Like, to me, I don't, to cross over sports, I really don't, make any qualms about it. I'm not apologetic about it. I am a Nikola Jokic fan. I think he would have 2 or 3 championships right now if he had the supporting cast that other people and other all-time great players have had in this requisite era. I think Jokic would have won as many or more championships as virtually all of them by now, but he just simply doesn't have that supporting cast. Whereas LeBron James, well, he has 4 rings, sure, but 4 rings in 23 years now, about a quarter of a century, and he has absolute ideal situations and conditions, stacked super teams, easy conferences, and to only have 4 in about a quarter of a century of play, that's just underachieving to me. So it's not necessarily that I'm counting rings or stacking up rings or whatever when I make this next comment or make this next statement or whatever. There is such a thing as clutch to me. Clutch, which many perceive as maybe like a myth or a fairy tale, or really just a situational thing, which is dictated by other elements, luck, supporting casts, strength of opponent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I say no to all of that. I think there is this thing, this mystique that surrounds certain players. Like Michael Jordan had it, LeBron James doesn't have it. It's not difficult to watch. these guys in clutch time, in the waning moments of close games, and just to be able to know and see and feel that there's a difference. And in football, that same thing exists. Like, I myself was a big Peyton Manning fan for many years, and I hated Tom Brady for many years. But there just was no disguising it. In the waning moments of close games, I just felt nervous and anxious and on edge watching Peyton Manning, waiting for him to make a mistake or waiting for something to go wrong. Whereas as a Tom Brady hater for many years, I would watch him and I would feel the same way. Anxiety, because I knew that he was going to find a way to win, that he was going to find a way to succeed, because he's just a riser. He's a clutch performer. I think there's three types of players. There are guys that just remain the same in clutch moments, in big moments, in big times, big games. There are guys that just stay the same. So great players who are great in the regular season or in most normal conditions, guys that just stay the same, don't lose their cool, don't choke, don't fall apart, just stays the same. You're an all-time great if you can do that. The second kind of guy are guys that play beneath themselves, that underperform, that underwhelm, that play lesser when the lights are the brightest and when the moments are the biggest. Guys like LeBron James, who for all of his excellence in the regular season and in like the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, like he's just never there when it actually matters. Like a Lamar Jackson, who looks unstoppable at times in the regular season, but just finds a way to lose in the playoffs. Like, those guys to me are just losers and frauds to some degree, because they build this mastery during most games, most regular season games, lesser value playoff games. But then when it really matters, they vanish and evaporate. Then there's the third kind of player, the risers, the guys that get better than what they are normally in those moments, those clutch times, those big games, like the Tom Bradys, the guys that just seem to always find a way. And Patrick Mahomes does have that, like, that aura about him, though he has, again, had some hot, like, marquee losses. Now, I think, like, I think the Eagles, I thought they would lose that Eagles game last year. I think the Eagles were substantially better than them at basically everything other than quarterback. And even Jalen Hurts is no slouch. Like, he's a top 10 guy league wide right now. So I don't think Mahomes should have won that game necessarily, but just don't get absolutely waxed and abused in the game is basically what I would be asking from a Tom Brady type. And Brady never did allow himself to get to that point. So that's why, to me, Tom Brady will forever and always be the greatest player, I think, in NFL history. And when you start talking about all of sports history and expanding it, because I do talk a lot about basketball and I just like all of the other sports as well. I mean, Tom Brady is the all-time leader in yards, touchdowns, wins, both in the regular season and playoffs. And he's been to 10 Super Bowls and won 7 of them with not terrific supporting casts. I mean, find me all of the Hall of Famers that Tom Brady played beside on both sides of the ball. They really don't exist. Look at some of the other dynastic teams throughout the history of the NFL. The 70 Steelers, for instance, who won 4 Super Bowls in 6 years. They have like 10 guys in the Hall of Fame on those teams. Like, think about the fact that I'm pretty sure Stallworth and Swan both are in the Hall of Fame. Now, that was their wide receivers. Franco Harris is in the Hall of Fame. That was their running back. You have Terry Bradshaw, their quarterback on those championship teams, in the Hall of Fame. And then Mike Webster, their center. That's 5 offensive players off the top of my head in the Hall of Fame from those dynastic Steelers teams in the 70s. Now realize that offense wasn't even their strong side of the ball. Like, defense was where they won. Defense was why they were so great. That steel curtain defense and all of the absolute studs they had on that side of the ball. That is what I would expect to see from these dynastic teams. Like, that many great players. Name me the Hall of Famers Tom Brady's played with by and large throughout his career. They don't exist. It's Tom Brady. And again, he made Bill Belichick, as I alluded to earlier, look way better than he was for the vast majority of his career. So people that want to hate on Tom Brady, I don't understand it. I wanted to hate on Tom Brady all the time for the first roughly 10 years of his career. But at a certain point, a guy just forces your hand because of his sheer excellence and greatness. That's what Tom Brady forced me to do. And that's why, to me, I just have recognized what Brady is, and that is the GOAT, arguably, of all GOATs. But thank you, Samson the Current. And Gary, I don't know. You're a big Joe Montana guy, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you probably would argue that Montana still is above Brady, right?
I can't say he's above Brady. If I had one game to save my life and I could pick any one quarterback, I have a hard time picking anybody over Joe Montana.
That's fair. I think the same way about Tommy, though. So,
right.
But that's fair. Those are the two guys I think that come to mind, which is why those are the two guys that are above everybody's list. No matter what else we see, sure, Aaron Rodgers has been a dynamic, statistically excellent quarterback. You can make a case. Aaron Rodgers might be the best quarterback I've ever seen, maybe. In terms of,
he probably has the strongest pure arm
talent, ability to drive the ball, put the ball in places. He's athletic.
And Marino.
Same with Marino.
Yeah.
In terms of his arm talent, Marino though was more of his arm strength, talent, and stuff. I think was rivals Aaron Rodgers. I think Rodgers was more accurate than him, and I think Rodgers was more mobile in the pocket, and he was more athletic than. That's the thing. Aaron Rodgers has athleticism too. He wasn't a running quarterback necessarily, but he could move around. He could get out of trouble. He can pick up things with his feet too, and his legs when pressed when he was younger. So Aaron Rodgers basically had no weaknesses as a quarterback. But again, he went to one Super Bowl in his entire career, and he's 40. He's going to be 42 years old in December. Go ahead, Gary.
Hey, hot take right now. Rated R Sports is in here. Mookie is in here, and he just said something that I have been saying that people argue with me all the time, that Drew Brees is actually overall better than Aaron Rodgers, which I would agree with that. I think I would take Drew Brees over Aaron Rodgers. I love his attitude. I love his competitiveness. If he's having a down quarter, he's not going to get down on himself and alienate his teammates. He's still going to elevate his teammates. He's not going to give up. He's so competitive. I love Drew Brees. He's one of my all-time quarterbacks. Not saying he's right there with Brady or Peyton Manning, but to me, he's just a smidge under them and a little bit underrated, in my opinion, because I used to just watch the games, and you talk about not having good receivers, but elevating all of his receivers. It doesn't matter who was on the field. He would turn his receivers into guys who would look like Pro Bowlers. Then they would leave and go to other places, and you'll never hear from them again. Every year, Drew Brees would have a crop of receivers and make them look like Pro Bowlers. I love Drew Brees. Shout out to him, and shout out to Mookie for this hot take.
Yeah, what's up, Rated R Sports? Shout out, welcome in. I just put up what he's saying here in terms of Drew Brees, and yeah, I think Drew Brees is just to echo you and Rated R Sports. I think Brees is a bit of a forgotten guy. Just to talk about him, when he retired, actually, he was the all-time passing leader in NFL history when he retired. Now, Brady just kept going and Brady played till his aged 45 season. He is the all-time leading passer in NFL history. But Brees did have something outrageous. Gary, if you could fact check this while I'm talking about it, how many 5,000-yard seasons did Drew Brees have? I want to say it was 6.
I'll look it up now.
6 or 5 or 6, I want to say. And I don't think any other player in NFL history has more than 1, which is just a ludicrous stat when you put that together. Go ahead, Gary.
Drew Brees had 5 seasons with 5,000 or more passing yards, which is the most by any quarterback in NFL history. He achieved this rare feat in 2008, 11, 12, 13, and 16 seasons.
Right. So, okay. So I said 5 or 6. It's 5,000-yard passing seasons for Drew Brees. And no other quarterback in NFL history, I believe, has more than 1. So that is a crazy stat in and of itself in terms of just how damn prolific Drew Brees was. Gary, if you, though, can just help me out and do one more thing for me.
Yes, sir.
How many winning seasons did Drew Brees have? Can you just go to if you go to his QB reference page or whatever, it'll have his win-loss record as a starter. I want to say 8.
Drew Brees had 10 winning seasons in his NFL career, with 9 occurring during his 15 seasons with the Saints and 1 during his time with the Chargers.
So how many? But he played till he was like 40. How many years overall did he play?
Hang on, let me look. He played from 2001 to 2020.
So I mean, Drew Brees. Look, he statistically he is as good as anybody. He was an extraordinarily accurate player. And passer. I think, to me, the most valuable arm talent of them all for NFL success, to me, is accuracy. There's so many people get enamored about throwing power and how strong someone's arm is. But to me, accuracy and your ability to make all of the throws is pretty much the most important thing. That and really just reading defenses. Those are, to me, the 2 most important things. And Drew Brees did that as well as anybody else. But I think Brees, again, he's just going to get lumped in with Aaron Rodgers. Brees is 9-9 in his playoff career. So I think Rodgers might be 10-9. So very, very similar. Let me just see what Aaron Rodgers is. I want to say he's got 10 wins, and he might have 9. 12-10. So Aaron Rodgers is 12-10 in the postseason, and Drew Brees is 9-9. So again, for all of the excellence that both of those 2 players have displayed, really just not the playoff success has not followed either. Now, luckily, both of them have won a Super Bowl, which is why, again, get out of here with Lamar Jackson. I don't want to hear any more about him. Until he gets to and wins a Super Bowl, he's just not elite to me. I'm sorry, he's just not. People think he should have won his 3rd MVP last year. Whatever. Win a Super Bowl. He's got everything he needs this year to get to and win a Super Bowl. So I'm just not even going to say he's an elite player. He hasn't even played in a Super Bowl. So for all of the struggles that Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers, and Drew Brees all struggled mightily at times throughout their playoff career, even though Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers probably didn't look as bad at times as Peyton Manning did in some of those losses. But again, 14-13 for Peyton Manning in the playoffs, 12-10 for Aaron Rodgers, 9-9 for Drew Brees. They all won a Super Bowl, though. And Peyton Manning, in his case, won 2 Super Bowls. And Peyton Manning, it's very rare. 4 Super Bowl appearances. I'll say it again. I've said it multiple times throughout this live stream. 4 Super Bowl appearances with 4 different head coaches. That is so rare to see something like that done. But all of them get criticized. All of them get points taken off for lack of playoff success. I think Lamar Jackson should too. And it's the thing that distances Tom Brady in my estimation. Because, again, Tom Brady, look at his supporting his cast. These weren't great supporting casts. A lot of people want to overrate his defenses. I look at total yards in terms of that's the way we decipher who the number 1 overall offense and defense is. It's yards based, total yards. Tom Brady had less top 10 total yards defensive finishers than he did outside of the top 10. Tom Brady had just about as many top, in the 20s finishers in terms of his total defense for year end as he did in top 5 or top 10. He typically, Tom Brady, throughout the predominant majority of his career, had middle of the pack defenses in terms of total defenses, like 13th, 14th, 15th, typically year end in total defenses. Now, yes, they didn't allow many points. Some people will say, oh, well, he was top 10 in total points a lot of years, but he factors into that. The way he manages the offense, the way he puts the defense in good situations, like that plays a factor into the points that the defense is allowing. That's why generally we look at total yards. And Brady's like, I think his average finish for his like 22-year career as a starter was like 13th or 14th in total defense year-end finishers. Like it's an average defense. And he had typically below average offensive players surrounding him, and yet he goes to 10 Super Bowls and wins 7. That's why it's Tom Brady, and then it's everybody else after that. But Rated R Sports, thanks for jumping in. Gary, many thanks for checking that stuff and adding that context for me. I do appreciate it. I think I'm winding down here. I think we're winding down this live stream. It was, not like our typical live streams, but again, it's football based. I love the NFL. I want to talk more NFL moving forward. So I just wanted to get in here. I'll probably come in every Monday or Tuesday. Maybe I'll shift it to Tuesday and just talk football, the recaps of the weekend, talk about league-wide trends, the way things are moving, and just kind of break it down. And then maybe I'll do videos throughout the week as well. So this is something I want to do moving forward. The NBA, of course, as I referenced, starts soon as well. October 21st, I believe, is the regular season tip-off there. So just about 5-6 weeks out from that. So I'll, of course, be doing more live streams moving forward on that as well. Gary, any things in closing that you want to discuss or shout out?
No, I just want to point out that what got me into your channel was the excellent LeBron James content, and that I watched your debate with Mookie, Rated R Sports, and I agree with you. I think Jokic should have been MVP over SGA, but I loved Mookie's LeBron James content. He puts him on blast just like you. He holds his feet to the fire. I love that. So I just want to give a shout out to Mookie for that excellent work, and tell any of SKAP's subscribers in here to go and give Rated R Sports a follow over on his channel.
Yeah, I enjoyed my my debate with Rated R Sports. We typically do agree on most things. We typically do see eye to eye most of the time. It's basically just the Jokic piece that he's consistently disagreeing with me about. So we'll see. I think Jokic, I still don't think, to me, I think they are probably the third best team in the conference this year. I like the Thunder above them still from a talent standpoint, and I like the Rockets above them as well. So, I think I wouldn't begrudge the Nuggets for not winning or Jokic for losing this year, but it's got to be to one of those two teams in my estimation. I think a loss to any other team, East or West, is unacceptable for Nikola Jokic. And I think because of the moves that the Oklahoma City Thunder has made, the Denver Nuggets have made in the offseason, I actually do think that Jokic, unlike last year, I think the Nuggets are a viable contender. So while I wouldn't be picking them to win it this year, it would not surprise me if they do. I think they can win this year, unlike
absolutely.
last. So we'll see. And I like them. I think their regular season outlook looks a much better as well, because look, it's Jokic and nothing little else. So he has to just expend so much energy for the regular season just to get to 50 wins. Now they've got a lot more depth. I love Jonas Valanciunas as his backup. And the bench is as good or better, probably better than it has been in years. So I think the Nuggets will win 60 this year. Now, if that's enough, I think the Thunder will still win more. The Thunder should have won 70 last year. I think they'll be as good or better this year in the regular season. Well, the Thunder. And then the Rockets were actually the 2 seed last year in the West, 2nd seed only to the Thunder. And now they add KD. So I like them more as well. So I think all three, this could be a really unique year. I'll have to look at this and see the last time it happened. Off the top of my head, I can't think of it. 3 teams in one conference winning 60. I think this could be the year where I think 3 teams might threaten 60 wins in the regular season. So we'll see how the 1, 2, and 3 seeds shake out then, and also how the MVP shakes out. I think it will be between SGA and Jokic again this upcoming season, more than likely. So yes, we'll be getting more into the NBA moving forward, but definitely mixing in some of this football content moving forward as well. So guys, make sure the best thing you can do is to not only click the subscribe button, but make sure the notifications are turned on, because then you just get notified whenever I do some random live stream or release some random video at some random time of the day. You will just be notified readily if you just turn those notifications on. So make sure you do that. And as always, guys, please do stay tuned for more from me. Until next time.